Over the last few years, we've been recapping the ongoing adventures of Edward Carnby in the Alone in the Dark series. It's become something of a Halloween tradition. So, now that we've investigated Derceto, survived Hell's Kitchen, and uncovered the secrets of Slaughter Gulch, it's time for the Private Eye to do something he's never done before, and that is to hit the reset button. That's right, Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare is a reboot to the franchise, finally bringing Carnby into the 21st century. It has a whole new story, new attitude, new characters, and none of the old-timey baggage from the first 3 games. Turn back now if you don't want to know what happens next, because today we're going to spoil the story and ending for Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare. This is Game Over, the early years.
Gloucester, Massachusetts, October 30th, 2001, 2100 hours.
This is Fisk. I hope you had a safe trip. Now, I can already hear you ranting, but I've taken on a new case. I know, I promised I'd quit. But I was contacted by a man named Johnson to go to Shadow Island and investigate Obed Morton and the Apcanis writing tablets. Does that ring any bells? Now you understand why I couldn't say no and had to leave right away. I'm going tomorrow. I left some notes on the office desk. See you soon, Carnby. Oh, I nearly forgot. If you want to contact Johnson, he's at 555-1495.
Boston Police Department. Name Fisk. First name Charles. Date of birth February 17th, 1944. Presumed date of death October 24th, 2001. Somewhere in the United States, October 31st, 2001, 1800 hours, 43 minutes.
So? They'll be on Shadow Island in about an hour.
Carnby's a loose cannon, but we had no real choice. And the professor?
Professor Eileen Sedrak is convinced that Obed Morton is her... We had no trouble persuading her.
I must have those tablets in their translation. Is that clear, Johnson?
Perfectly, sir.
Daddy?
Miss Sedrak? Eileen? Wake up.
What? Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
Here. You'll probably need this. Do you have your radio?
Yes, I have it.
Eileen, when we get to the island, for your safety, you'd better stay close to me.
My safety? Is there any danger? I was hired to authenticate the translation of the Apcanis stones. I will be working with Professor Morton.
My best friend died because of those tablets. He was killed on Shadow Island. And I swear I'm gonna find whoever did it.
I'm very sorry. Listen, I know Professor Morton's reputation. He's a scientist, a great researcher.
Well, to me, he's just another suspect.
We're getting close. Shadow Island.
What was that?
The controls are dead.
Put that up! We have to jump! Go!
And that's the start of this new nightmare. Edward is trying to hunt for clues to the murder of his friend and partner Charles Fisk, while Aline has come to Shadow Island to recover the missing tablets and work with Professor Abed Morton to figure out what it's trying to say. Because these two heroes are immediately separated, we're forced to choose between the different heroes and only see half of the adventure. For the sake of this story breakdown, we're going to bounce between the different stories to see how everything fits together. The good news is that Edward and Aline are both able to stay in close contact thanks to their walkie-talkies, so there's never that moment when they fear the other person is dead or something. Edward seems to have landed in the middle of the woods, while Aline touched down on the roof of some kind of manor. While Carnby searches for ways to get inside the property, Aline breaks into the manor and runs into an elderly blind woman who warns the young researcher of the dangers of Shadow Island. She talks about how the shadows come to life on this island and how they'll lick your face with hellfire and feed off your fears. Yikes. As we move back to Carnby, we see that he's also found somebody to talk to. This injured man reveals that he was in a boat accident and shot by a mysterious figure. He tells Edward to flee the island, but of course that's not going to happen. I mean, not even seeing one of these menacing guard dogs get absolutely mutilated by one of the island's creatures is enough to make Carnby leave the island before figuring out what happened to Charles Fisk. Now, back in the manor, Aline overhears an argument between Obed and another man where it's all revealed that the professor has been shipping people to the island to act as guinea pigs. This is news to Carnby, who's haunted by a vision of Aline dead and in a casket. Thankfully, she's still alive, but her time may be coming to an end when she runs into Professor Morton, who immediately shoots her in the arm. She passes out and has that nightmare again where she's a little girl and Agent 47 is her dad. But don't worry, Aline is fine. She wakes up in a creepy old bedroom and lets Carnby know that she was drugged. While snooping around the room, Aline discovers a diary that tells the harrowing story of a horse accident that left the author's mother blind and unable to walk. The diary also reveals that Obed was a frequent resident of Shadow Island, dating all the way back to the 1960s. The plot thickens. While Aline was reading the diary, Carnby was shooting shadow monsters and solving puzzles in order to rescue the researcher. At last, the two finally meet up, and of course, the first thing that Edward does is drool all over Aline's new outfit. Yeah, maybe a new era, but it's the same old Carnby. After getting the small talk out of the way, the two compare notes, leading to Aline wondering if maybe there's more than one Abed on the island. The two split up again in order to follow different leads, which gives Edward a chance to better explore the mansion. It's here we're introduced to Joseph Edenshaw, an indigenous witch doctor who claims to be the Shadow Island's guardian. He's concerned that Professor Morton may have crossed the line and reveals that Carnby's heroism is part of a prophecy, because of course it is. The important part of the conversation is that Edenshaw gives Carnby an item that will prevent our hero from getting sucked into the abyss, which honestly sounds pretty useful. While all this was going on, Aline was making progress of her own. Her lead took her up to the attic where she discovers that she can talk to dead people through mirrors. This guy even has a mission for her, which is to stop Edenshaw's plans and steal back his mirror. If she does that, he'll reveal the information from her past that she's been seeking this entire time. But wait a second, could it be that Edenshaw is actually a bad guy? Well, no, he's not. Almost immediately after talking to the guy in the mirror, the blind old woman in the bed tells Aline to not trust his lies. He's a corrupter and uses his great powers for evil. Alright, so that's sorted, right? Well, not so fast. Even with the dire warning from the old woman, it seems like the offer might have been too good to pass up, so the two meet again. He invites her into the mirror, where he demands that she hand over Edenshaw's mirror. But just when it looks like she was about to doom everybody by handing it over, she smashes it on the ground and defeats the ghost. Edenshaw is thrilled, or as energized as his slow-moving warble will allow him to be. He now has a mission for Aline, which is to find the 7 statues of the 7 gods, allowing him to perform the ritual and stop the shadow monsters from escaping to the rest of the world. The only catch is that the ritual has to be done tonight, so time is not on our side. While all this is going on, Carnby is finally getting a chance to meet the old blind woman stuck in the bed. She's a lot more interested in Edward burning down the library than actually helping his investigation, so he leaves to locate more clues. What he ends up finding is an old book that talks about Edenshaw, who appears to be the final member of a tribe that died out more than 100 years ago. He also appears to have known multiple generations of Morton, making his appearance even more puzzling. When Edward finally gets to the library, he realizes that burning it down is going to be a lot of work. He also discovers a flying monster that takes a few shotgun blasts to the face before going down. It's at this point where Carnby locates a telescope, finally giving him a look at the surrounding area. It's while looking at the fort that he sees a man. Could it be Obed? Edward gets a hold of Aline to explain what he saw, and, well, here's how that goes.
Carnby,
Yeah, it's me. So, found anything out?
I hope you had good news.
Yeah, well, no. I spotted a man in the fort that overlooks the island. It might be Obed Morton.
So?
So what? No, I didn't blast him like a sitting duck, even if that's just what he deserves. This entire mess never would have happened if he and all his bent family hadn't been warped by ambition.
Obed Morton has made great progress in his field. Increasing our knowledge of mankind, he's a genius with a passion for his work.
Besides, who is Obed Morton to you? I can't talk about him without you immediately getting all worked up.
I have good reason to believe that that Obed Morton is my father.
If that's a joke, it's not funny.
The date coincides, and I was shown a picture.
So that's why you agreed to come to the island.
And also for the Abcanis writing tablets.
Abcanis writing tablets, my foot. Why didn't you write to him, for crying out loud? Why rush straight over here?
I want to hear it from his own mouth.
Actually, I understand. I should tell you to stay put, but be careful, Aline, and call me if you have a problem.
Carnby, I have a problem.
The problem? Well, take your pick. First, she watches a movie where a mad scientist attempts to resurrect the dead, and then she finds a half-human, half-beast monster that breaks out of its cage and escapes. To make matters worse, that beast is tracking Aline's every step, making it almost impossible for her to find those damn statues. What she does find is Obed, who is caged up in the fort, just like Carnby said. He reveals that his brother, Alan Morton, has already transcribed the tablets and knows the secrets of the island. The gate is about to open and darkness will pour over the earth. He describes endless wars that the world's armies will not be able to win, and the limitless carnage that will become the new normal. I mean, just scary shit, but Aline is not interested in any of that. She just wants to know if Obed has any information on Mary Cedric, which is her mom. Even as he talks about his chest turning to ice and bones breaking, all Aline is interested in is trying to figure out if Obed is her dad. He laughs off that notion, calling it impossible. Now, in case you're wondering where Carnby is, he's off investigating a plane that crashed in the swamps. He locates the pilot, who keeps saying that he doesn't want to die, yet also refusing to let Edward help him. The plane sinks, the pilot dies. It didn't have to be like this. Oh hey, you remember how Obed was talking about his brother Alan? Well, Carnby finds the mad scientist in the middle of an experiment, but he ends up fleeing before the PI could get any dirt. Thankfully, Edenshaw knows where he's going and reveals that Alan is trying to start the ritual that'll engulf the earth in darkness, start all of those wars, pluck out everybody's eyeballs, blah, 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 blah. What Edenshaw needs is those final statues, which is the way to counteract the ritual. Over on Aline's side, she seems to be making real progress with her puzzles. By plugging in today's date into the machine, she activates a light show that seemingly aligns the planets in a way that just must absolutely confound astronomers. After that, the two meet back up and we're treated to this showdown between Alan and Edenshaw.
I'm begging you, Alan. You have no idea of the consequences of what you're about to do.
Edenshaw. For years now you've been watching me, expecting this moment, just so you could see if your powers of witchcraft were still alive. But it's too late. You should have come begging long ago. You and I know that today's the day, or the night, actually. You're shaking. Yet you're like all the others, fascinated. I realize that only my father was able to fight the madness that courses through all of the Mortons, and that is what killed him. I am the one who killed him. And you want me to give up now? I've spent my entire life waiting for this moment. I never cared for your human world. My research has paid off. I have created a new being, a being with no conscience, no feelings, no pain, a being who will know neither doubt nor hope. Soon my children shall rule the earth, and my brother, that coward, will be one of them. I know what this statue represents, and that is why I am taking it with me. You thought that by destroying my world you'd fulfill your destiny? Don't expect me to let you have that happy end. Get out of my way. As for you, strangers, I know not what brought you here, but you too shall soon experience the taste of darkness and oblivion. Light has for too long ruled alone. It is time for darkness to spill out across the world. Bonadza ternas guru helie zair hekatonkires.
Okay, so our heroes are separated once again. Alan is tasked with following a light in this H.R. Giger-inspired alien world, which ultimately ends with a shootout with a lizard monster. Aline, on the other hand, is off tomb raiding in an ancient, buried fortress. Her job is to solve a bunch of puzzles, which eventually leads to us learning more about the ancient tribe and their place in the mythology. The important part is that Aline is able to meet back up with Edward, who is already hot on the heels of Alan. He ends up doing that thing that a lot of movie villains tend to do, where he says that nothing can stop me now, only to be immediately killed off by one of the monsters that he created. Yeah, I believe they call that poetic justice. With Alan out of the picture, both Aline and Edward are forced to fight their own respective bosses. Let me tell you, Aline's battle is like 1,000,000 times more epic than what Edward gets. Which is to probably make up for the fact that she spent most of this game doing little more than puzzle solving. With both of those monsters defeated, the two heroes place the statues in the right spots and hope for the best. And, at long last, this is what happens next.
I saw a helicopter on the west shore. You haven't a second to waste. Hurry, because the sun will be rising soon.
But, and you?
I can now fulfill my destiny, thanks to you. I am most grateful. Now go.
Well, you sure had that coming.
Look at that!
Fishburne, you are a geologist specializing in what scientists call plate tectonics. Could you tell us more about what happened?
Shadow Island was situated precisely on the crest of a minor fault line. This fault line suddenly spread by a dozen or so meters, and the island literally sank.
Miss Wallace, you can send Fishburne his nice little reward.
Now that is an exhausting story. If you go back and watch the earlier games, you're gonna find much more straightforward plots and endings that feel almost like an afterthought. This reboot is so much bigger and more intense and cinematic in a way that we just haven't seen in the franchise. Clearly, the developers were taking cues from the Resident Evil series, which already built onto the Alone in the Dark formula and found great success. The locations, the twists, and even the ending feels straight out of the Resident Evil series. Only with Edward Carnby there instead of some random STARS member. Not that I'm complaining, because a lot of this adventure actually worked for me. I kinda like the more cinematic approach, and it feels like the ending is appropriate. My complaint is that it ends up speeding through a lot of the endgame stuff when I would have preferred the game slow down and really savor the major moments and reveals. The escape is also incredibly convenient. I mean, it's a good thing that helicopter was there. Aside from the obvious Deus Ex Machina, I think that this is my favorite Alone in the Dark story yet. The two different storylines definitely make it feel more complete. Plus, it takes place on Halloween Day, which is perfect timing. So, pour one out for Joseph Eden-Cha, who was swallowed up by the Earth on this day 20 years ago. Oh, and the pilot, and probably this injured guy who was shot at the beginning. Oh yeah, and the woman in the bed. They all died 20 years ago today. Rest in peace, Shadow Island. Hey, thanks for watching this spooky episode of Game Over, the early years. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new episodes almost every week. Now, here's the question I have for you. Should Edward Carnby return for more Alone in the Dark? I mean, they haven't had a new installment in a bunch of years, and I'm kind of dreading next Halloween when I have to go through that other reboot again. I wasn't a big fan when I played it the first time. Anyway, let me see your thoughts in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back next week with a pair of Cotton reviews, followed by information about our big holiday super shows. Let me tell you, we have a bunch planned for the end of the year, so do me a favor and click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.